Ratio Fundamentalis is a document issued by the Congregation for Clergy in the Holy See that outlines for all seminaries around the world the norms and the expectations for what should be in a seminary formation program. Interestingly, the document also treats ongoing formation for those priests once they leave seminary formation. And so essentially, it's a document that's universal, that every country has to follow, and it provides stability and some consistency in the way priests are formed around the world. The importance, again, of having a universal document is to provide the consistency and stability for formation around the world. It's very clear that not every country has the same resources, not every country might think of formation in the same way, but this document provides that sort of global understanding of what are the essential characteristics, what are the essential needs that a seminary formation program needs to consider globally. And in that we find the real value of a document that has a universal character to it. My general impressions of the new Ratio are it's really the fruit of the last 20 years or so of reflection on the part of the Church. We're always thinking about how to do formation better. We evaluate ourselves, there's a lot of assessment, we talk to pastors, we talk to the newly ordained, and we ask them directly what's helpful, what wasn't helpful. And this occurs not only in the United States, but it occurs around the world. And so after a couple of decades, it's not surprising that we're in a position to update the Ratio Fundamentalis and offer new reflections as to what goes into a good formation program. There are some new sections in this Ratio if you compare it to the last Ratio, which was 1985. The new section actually comes right at the beginning. It's reflective, I think, of the way Pope Francis and really the leadership of the Church is thinking now. It's exciting for me to see this new section, and it's a section that articulates the stages of discernment. This wasn't in the previous one. And what the document provides is a vision for 4 stages of formation and discernment. It's not to be understood, I don't think, in a hard and fast and a rigid way, but really a recognition that the 4 stages are this. There's a propedeutic stage, that introductory stage, where we give attention to the initial foundational development of someone's spiritual life, their relationship with the Lord. The second stage is what they call the discipleship stage. This is language that we've used here at Sacred Heart for some time now, but it's exciting to see this in the document. A discipleship stage which says, ever before you can become a priest, you need to be a disciple of Jesus first. And so a period of time where that's the explicit focus. A third stage that they articulate in the document is called configuration. That's associated really with the time in theology. That's when the focus should be on the immediate preparation for priesthood, the configuration and the growing and deepening identity of the seminarian as priest, as shepherd, as leader, as teacher. And that's exciting to see. And then the final stage that the document articulates is the synthesis, the vocational synthesis. And that's where pastoral charity, which is really the ultimate goal, that we form someone with a deeply compassionate, merciful and pastoral heart, reaches its synthesis as they move out into parish ministry as an ordained priest. There is some new language in the new Ratio that was just issued. One of the most identifiable is the fact that the document uses the word dimensions. The language that we used to use was pillars, the 4 pillars of formation: the intellectual pillar, the human pillar, the spiritual pillar, and then the pastoral pillar. That's language that comes from the program for priestly formation. This new Ratio offers a new language, which I think is really important actually. Vocabulary is very meaningful. And the reason that it's meaningful is because we want to preserve the unity and the integrity of the human person. And even though in previous decades and years we always held that, still the word pillar identified some sort of separation, one from the other, and that's probably not the way to go. When we talk about the unity of the human person, it's better to speak about dimensions. So we speak about the intellectual dimension, the spiritual dimension, the pastoral dimension, and the human dimension, all keeping in mind that the main thrust of this whole, the main goal of the document in our formation is to form missionary disciples. And that's great language that the new Ratio uses too, is forming seminarians and future priests as missionary disciples. The new Ratio has to be studied first and foremost. We have to take a look at it. It's not a short document. It's the fruit of a lot of reflection on the part of a lot of people throughout the world. The Congregation for Clergy consulted bishops' conferences around the world. They started the process in 2014, so it's taken 2 years or more of consultation to arrive at this document. Now the next stage will be for Episcopal conferences around the world to then take the next step and do what we call a national application. So you have the Ratio Fundamentalis, and now in the United States we will have a Ratio Nationalis, and that's what we call the Program for Priestly Formation. So what we will do in the United States is the USCCB, the bishops and those that they assign, will take a look at what our program in the national context, what does it look like? Does it need to be updated? Do we need to change language? Do we need to change structures? And what sort of implications will that bring to seminary formation in the immediate context? So for us here at Sacred Heart, it means we'll listen very carefully to what the USCCB and the work of the Bishops' Conference, what they say about the new PPF, and we'll take our direction directly from the PPF, the next version of that, which it might be a year or two out, but that work will have to be done in light of the reflection from the Ratio Fundamentalis. As I've looked at the Ratio Fundamentalis, and still really just an initial first read-through, some observations that I'm excited to see is the language as it pertains to Sacred Heart Major Seminary and the work of our faculty is right from the very beginning in the introduction. It says that the purpose of a formation program and training of priests is to form them to be missionary disciples. And it's a language we've used here. It's really at the heart of our mission. And so I'm happy to see that kind of language. The language also of accompaniment, which is very close to the Holy Father's heart, I think is reflective of a really good program of priestly formation, which focuses in, especially in the early stages, on a growth in virtue, making sure that the seminarian and then the future priest is a man of great integrity and strength and courage, humility, all of the virtues that are necessary, because we know that as priests, they need a solid foundation in virtue to be effective priests. So the Ratio Fundamentalis in that regard, I think, speaks very clearly and in a good way that's consistent with what we're doing and already doing. And I think actually as we look at the Ratio, as we study the Ratio, I think we'll find ways to make our program even better. And we'll find new ways to integrate certain aspects so that our programs and the priests that exit our program are even better trained.